afternoon, and welcome to our 2022 Summer Commencement. We're honored to have you with us for this special event. Let's thank Charles Tompkins for providing our music this afternoon. I'd like to ask you to rise for the invocation offered by our university chaplain, Vaughn Crow-Tipton. Following the invocation, Interim Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost, Dr. Beth Ponteri, will introduce our commencement speaker.
Let us take time this afternoon to center ourselves, to make the transition from the busyness and business of our lives to a time of reflection and celebration. There's much we have to offer thankfulness for, much to celebrate, but also much to remember. We are aware that our legacy as an institution is built upon the lands and the labors of others who lived and worked and learned here long before us. Before our invocation, I invite you to listen and reflect upon our institutional acknowledgement of the land that has sustained us and where we now reside. We acknowledge that Furman University occupies traditional land of the Cherokee people, a land where the Catawba and other indigenous people might also have found food. Long before our Alma Mater sang of the mountain river that laves our mother's feet, the Cherokee honored that water, the land through which it flowed, and all the creatures living on the land with them. From the natural world, they also learned to live and form communities of respect. It is with gratitude that we, too, honor the land and the people who have stewarded it through many generations. We also must acknowledge that we benefit from the Cherokees' loss of land and commit to remembering the human cost of colonialism. This land acknowledgement challenges us to learn from the Cherokee people and to draw from their wisdom about community, resilience, and the meaning of life which this land nurtured. Will you join me for our invocation? We gather this day to celebrate our legacy and the potential of our future. Holy One, as recipients of a legacy born on the land, the ideals, and the work of our predecessors, we joined our lives with these students in this place to pursue knowledge, growth, and dreams. Throughout their journey, we as faculty, staff, administration, family, and friends have offered our prayers, our insights, and our encouragement as these individuals have learned, matured, and become good citizens of our world. We hope and pray that our work with these graduates has fostered within them a sense of justice and has encouraged the exercise of civic responsibility in creating a fair and equitable order, that a Furman education has opened them to ways of being that solve human problems and has given them the ability to affirm the worth of the life of learning, faith, and integrity. May their education always encourage and enable them to engage in ethical reflection, to deepen their civic involvement, and to have a sacred regard to the interests of morality. We look to these graduates with hopeful eyes and glad hearts, knowing they have the potential to make a difference, to contribute to the creation of a world where justice and love are more than sentiment, where hope and peace are tangible, and where the light of goodness is too bright for evil to make its way. For these things we offer our thanks. Amen. Please be seated.
Good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations to our graduates. We are truly delighted to share in the celebration of your accomplishments today. We wish you the very best as you embark on the next stage of your pathway. And we're so proud of the work that you've done at Furman and the work that we know you will do in your next chapter. I am very pleased and honored to introduce our commencement speaker today, Professor George Lipscomb. George is a professor of education who has taught at Furman since 2002. After completing his undergraduate degree at Davidson College, He attended Wake Forest University, where he received a Master of Arts in Education and Secondary Teaching certification. From there, he became a middle and high school social studies teacher for 7 years, teaching in both North Carolina and Florida. He then received his PhD in Curriculum and Instruction from the University of Florida, go Gators, before joining the faculty at Furman. Professor Lipscomb currently instructs elementary and secondary social studies methods, curriculum and technology, and geography, among other courses. He is active in social studies education at the local, state, and national level, and he has published in a variety of journals in his field. He is currently serving as a Pathways Advisor for Furman students and is a part of Furman's Academic Advising Committee. Dr. Lipscomb has conducted research in the New Zealand school system and has taken Furman students to that country 5 times for May Experience programs. When he's not working, he enjoys soccer, basketball, golf, running, hiking, listening to 80s music, and walking his dog. He is married to Laura and has 2 sons, Burke, who is a 2021 Furman graduate, and Josh. It is my privilege to invite Dr. Lipscomb to the podium.
Thank you, Beth, for that introduction. Thank you, President Davis. Thank you, Jeremy, I guess, for inviting me to speak today. Thank you, fellow members of the Platform Party, and a big shout out to my faculty and staff colleagues, especially those in the Education Department, supporting me today. And thank you, family and friends, both here and virtually, for being here. I know that means a lot to these graduates to have your support. And a big congratulations to graduates to making it to this point. The last couple of years with COVID have been a challenge for all of us, and you're to be commended for enduring under such difficult circumstances. Why don't we give them a round of applause for their efforts? I've been told by one of my sons that commencement addresses should be like Charmin Ultra. Less is more. So I will try to be brief. I'm very aware that we have multiple types of graduates here today. We have students who have just finished their undergraduate degrees, maybe early, maybe on time, maybe a bit longer than anticipated, and we have students who have just completed their graduate degrees. I've attended a number of summer graduations in my 20 years at Furman and heard some inspiring speeches along the way, but few seem to hit at both constituent groups. So I'm going to try to provide some advice that hopefully will inspire both bachelor's and master's degree candidates. So I have 3 major points I'm going to share with you in the next few minutes, and if you're still paying attention, I have some bonus advice I will share with you at the end. So point number 1, don't let yourself be pigeonholed. As a history major at Davidson, I learned somewhere along the way that a pigeonhole was part of a desk or a bureau where papers, letters, etc. could be stored. But in modern vernacular, this term has come to mean belonging to a particular group or having only a particular skill. For most of you here, I'm assuming you chose Furman because it didn't pigeonhole you into a particular college or major. George Anders, in his book, You Can Do Anything, The Surprising Power of a Useless Liberal Arts Education, describes how students at liberal arts universities are like explorers, whose pioneering spirit allows them to navigate the world around them. He adds, your grades don't matter as much as your willingness to stretch your ideas and aspirations. Parents, your students may have told you something like this along the way if their grades weren't as high as expected. So one of the things I've tried to avoid, both personally and professionally, is not being pigeonholed. When you're at a liberal arts university like Furman, you wear many hats. While I was hired primarily to teach social studies methods, I also teach courses related to geography, curriculum, technology, history, and philosophy. And as mentioned earlier, I've taken students on study away programs to Australia and New Zealand. I'm fortunate to have been involved in many initiatives around campus in my 20 years here, a lot of them related to advising. While I was never trained to be an advisor per se, I've grown to appreciate the significance of advising in a liberal arts setting and building strong bonds with students. I've worked closely the past 5 years in the pilot phase of our Pathways program with first and second year students. And I'm excited to see this program reach all incoming first year students this fall. Once implemented, this will add an integral piece to the Furman Advantage. Sorry, I'm contractually obligated to put hashtag TFA into this address. Another unexpected professional experience I've had in my time at Furman is learning to enjoy children's books. While I grew up reading and appreciating literature, both my mother and grandfather were college English professors. As a teacher certified in secondary or high school social studies, I really didn't see the place of children's books in my curriculum. But in trying to connect with my elementary teacher candidates, I soon realized that I would need to learn about relevant works of fiction and nonfiction. About 10 years ago, I was able to spend 3 years on a committee reviewing books appropriate for K-12 students, and I've tried to share these in my Furman courses. I've also brought numerous students with me to the State Social Studies Conference to share their favorite books with current teachers. Again, if I wasn't open to expanding my horizons, I wouldn't have had these experiences. For you students who have just completed your bachelor's degree, only 27% of people are in careers that match their college major. So while finance, health, and law are respectable and sometimes lucrative careers, don't feel like you need to be stuck here. And even if you do stay in these careers, look to expand your repertoire when possible and acquire different sets of skills along the way. For you teachers who have just completed your master's degrees, stay in teaching. We need you. But look for professional development opportunities that will continue to improve your craft and ultimately enhance learning for your students. So if you're asking yourself how not to be pigeonholed, my question to leave you with here is, what can I do to stretch myself, both personally and professionally? Point number 2, don't ever define yourself as just a. Back in 1986 at E.C. Glass High School in Lynchburg, Virginia, I was the male voted most likely to succeed by my peers. In the high school yearbook, I'm pictured with my friend Eleanor, who went on to Harvard for her undergraduate degree, University of Virginia for medical school, and not surprisingly, she's had a successful career in Northern Virginia as an OB/GYN. Other classmates have become lawyers, bankers, actors, and yes, even professors. I remember after getting my first middle school teaching job, returning to Lynchburg and catching up with some high school friends. In describing what I was doing, I remember a couple of them looking at me and remarking, "Oh, you're just a teacher." I don't remember how exactly I responded at the time, but I really wish the popular TED Talk on What Teachers Make by Taylor Molley had been at my disposal. I would have replied that I can make kids work harder than they ever thought they could. Make a C+ feel like a Congressional Medal of Honor. Make parents tremble over a phone call at dinner. And, paraphrasing here, I would have said that teachers make a heck of a difference in the lives of children. So be sure to watch this TED Talk if you haven't seen it before, and if you have, go watch it again, especially as school starts for a lot of you on Monday. But I was concerned in the eyes of my peers that I was just a teacher. So to you undergraduates and master's students, whatever you do and whatever you become, don't ever be just a. Whether you're working at Starbucks, coaching football, selling crypto, or serving as CEO for a Fortune 500 company, be the best you can be and be proud of what you're doing. Follow your passions. So for the teachers in the audience, you know the difference you make every single day in the lives of your students. So I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but don't let the naysayers bring you down, and especially in a period where teaching and the teaching profession often gets criticized. So my question to leave you with here is, what is your response going to be when people question you or your vocation? Point number 3, don't treat this as the end of your educational journey. This final piece of advice may seem strange to give at a graduation, because all of you have worked hard to get to this point, and you should celebrate today as a culmination of your academic career. For those of you familiar with Greenville County, you've probably heard of the Swamp Rabbit Trail. And if you live here, I'd venture to guess that you've taken a walk, a jog, a bike ride on this trail. This path is a former railroad line that's been converted to a recreational greenway and runs 22 miles throughout Greenville County, including through the back of Furman's campus. I've got a prop. The sign that's displayed on this poster, and if you can't see it way in the back, there we go, says end of trail, and then in small letters here, for now. There is hope that the trail can be extended towards the mountains in the future, so that's why the for now is part of this sign. I've used this picture on the syllabus of my master's seminar class that I know some of you have just completed with Dr. Henderson. So while a degree, either a master's or a bachelor's, is for sure a big accomplishment, there's more learning that you will continue to do throughout your life. I don't necessarily mean that you need to go to school more. I know many of you are done with school. But I do mean you will continue to learn, whether from a book, a newspaper, your peers, professional development, a podcast, a YouTube tutorial, or even a TikTok video. Continue to expand your expertise. And for you folks continuing in the classroom, I know that daily preparation will keep you abreast of the latest technology, teaching strategies, and methods to connect with students. So my question to leave you here with this final point is, what is your journey going to look like? You may think that it's going to be linear and constantly progressing, but in reality, it's much more likely to include lots of zigs and zags along the way. So in conclusion, I've given you 3 pieces of advice, but all of these have led with a negative. Don't. Most of the time, I try to be an optimist, so let me finish on a more positive note with some bonus, or since I'm an educator, extra credit advice. First, listen. These days, there seems to be a lot of talking, but not enough listening. Listen to your family and friends, and listen to those different than you. Find common bonds and empathize with others. Next, pay it forward. Give back to your community, your students, your families, and to Furman, especially when the university comes asking for money. And finally, celebrate. You've worked hard to get here, and you deserve the accolades that are coming your way. And I want to conclude with a lyric from a favorite song of mine, Closing Time by Semisonic. It's not the 80s, but at least it's still the 90s. Now, when it was released, I thought the song was really about closing time at a bar, and it mostly is. But at closer examination, I see that it goes a lot deeper. And the song ends, closing time, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. So while this is the end of your college experience, at least for most of you, treat this as a new beginning and go out in the world to stretch your ideas and your aspirations. Thank you, and congratulations, graduates.
Thank you, Professor Lipscomb, for your remarks and for the prop, which I will try not to kick. At this time, I invite our degree candidates to come forward to receive their diplomas. And now, President Davis, Provost Panteri, I have the honor of presenting the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Austin Omari Allen. I'm sorry. Benjamin Thomas Beaker, magna cum laude. Catherine Grace Cruz. Corey Robert Dillard. Braden Joseph Domino. Mary Quirbies Good. Catherine Elizabeth Kendall. President Davis, Provost Ponteri, I have the honor of presenting the candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Liberal Arts. Destiny Crystal Page, magna cum laude. President Davis, Provost Ponteri, I have the honor of presenting the candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Science. Jasmine Serena Washington. Congrats. President Davis, Provost Ponteri, I have the honor of presenting the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts. Christy Kellos Buchanan. Nicole Warner Carmenades. Claire Ann Cummings. Jennifer Nicole Deasing. Langdon Nicole Kennedy. Sydney Penny Line. Olivia Larkin McWirt. Emily Heath Sanders. Barrett Wynn Taylor. Catherine Michelle Taylor. Elise Lacey Traver. Alan Nicole Wiggins. Kelsey Joyce Wong. Emery Birch Wyatt. Finally, President Davis, Provost Ponteri, I have the honor of presenting the candidates for the degree of Master of Science. Haley Elizabeth Johnson. David Paul Lewis. President Davis, having presented the candidates for bachelor's and master's degrees, I certify that they have completed the requirements for their respective programs, and upon the recommendation of the faculty, we kindly request that you admit them into membership of the Furman University Class of 2022.
I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes to let the rest of them get down here. We're close. Makes it more suspenseful. And now, will all of the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Liberal Arts, Bachelor of Science, Master of Arts, and Master of Science please rise? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon each of you the appropriate degree with all its rights and responsibilities. Congratulations. Please be seated. Before we depart, I want to say a personal word to the graduates. Something brought you to Furman. It may have been our beautiful campus, it may have been our excellent academics, or engaged learning opportunities. Or it may have been the sense of community that such an environment fosters. We build community when we share experiences, and during our time together, we've done just that. We found ways to connect and form deep and lasting friendships. We celebrated successes and comforted each other through disappointment and loss. In fact, you faced and overcame many challenges, including a global pandemic. You learned and you grew along the way. You found your pathway and arrived here today. I'm excited for what comes next for you. That's because I believe Furman and your experience has prepared you well for successful and meaningful lives. This commencement really is just the beginning of a journey of a lifetime of learning. At a minimum, I hope Furman has taught you how much more there is to learn. I hope that we have inspired and nurtured your intellectual curiosity. Use this curiosity to understand our world and its people more deeply. Use your understanding to make a difference in the communities in which you reside. Finally, remember that Furman is not something you leave behind. The university and your experience here will last a lifetime. And we will need your help to ensure alumni have the same opportunities you did. We expect you to engage with your university and the Furman family, and we hope to see you back on campus often. Have fun this evening with your family and friends. This moment of celebration is deeply and richly deserved. We send you forth with great pride and affection. May you continue to thrive, prosper, and grow. And now please stand for the Alma Mater, led by Randall Umstead, Herring Professor and Chair of Music. It will be followed by the benediction offered by Von Crow-Tipton, and then the recessional. Please remain standing for the recessional.
The mountain city is her home, a mountain river lays her feet, but far from coasts her children come and crown her brow with flowers sweet, and 'neath her shade they rest secure and drink from wisdom's fountain pure, then rally Class of 2022, as you leave this place and seek to live a life of meaning, may you find deep joy through service and compassion. May you find true wisdom through patience and open-mindedness. May you find infinite wealth through gratitude and contentment. May you find purpose in seeking justice and crafting beauty. May you find authentic community through empathy and sacrifice. May you find real strength through gentleness and humility. May you be transformed by self-awareness, self-discipline, and discover that inside you there is a capacity for courage, love, resilience, selflessness, hope, and faith greater than you ever imagined. Live your lives believing that in cultivating these gifts, the legacy of your work and your relationships will impact generations to come. Bless you, class of 2022. Amen.